Hello and welcome to Performance Check. My name is Rob, and today I am doing my first ever product review on my channel. That is where we are. The product that I will be reviewing is a supplement released by the indie publisher Absolute Tabletop, and it is the Stone Rift supplement, which is the next installment in the Erenoth series, the setting devised by Matt Click. So, just to explain a few things before I begin, I'm not a publisher, I am not an editor, so I will be reviewing this product as it was intended. It's intended to be a source of inspiration if you want to run a tabletop role-playing game. So, to begin with, let's have a quick look. I am actually going to be going through the supplement as I record this, and hopefully you'll find it of some use, and you should probably buy it. So I'm bringing it up. I'm not going to show it on the actual camera because you should go and buy it, but to begin with, if you are familiar with Absolute Tabletop, you will know that they have a certain kind of format, and it's a format that is very readable, it's very accessible. But you open this baby up and, well, to begin with, you look at the front of it, the cover, it says Erenoth at the top, and you've got this glorious illustration of Stone Rift itself, which is a canyon in which the Thunder Dwarves of Erenoth reside in. And they are Thunder Dwarves because they harness lightning and imbue it into their weapons and to tools and things, and it's essentially how they exist in the land of Erenoth. It's really cool stuff. So you see this awesome, in the original sense of the word, canyon with great waterfalls pouring over the edges and lightning streaking across the sky above. It is very spectacular, and as soon as you look at that, you already know that we are on a different playing field in terms of Absolute Tabletop's work from before. I'm a big fan. They know I'm a big fan of their stuff. But from just looking at that cover there, you instantly know we're playing a different game. We've gone up a level. Stone Rift, Matt Click. You then open the page, and it has a little bit at the beginning that says Erenoth, an ancient and enigmatic land, riddled with long buried secrets and plagued by undying darkness, forged in dragonfire and quenched in the blood of the gods. Just a little detail right at the front that it already gives you a sense, a feeling, an emotion of what you can expect from the kind of inspiration and material that you're going to get from this. So that's great. You then move forward and you see the glory of the Erenoth map. It's something we've seen before, but it's something that you're never going to get sick of because it is beautiful. Drawn by Nate Vanderzee of Sellsword Maps, and obviously all of the content devised by Matt Click. You see the full glory of the land that that Stone Rift is set in, and it just gives you an idea of, you know, where we are. Obviously, it's a map, so hopefully it would. But nonetheless, it is really good to open with that, I feel, because it just is once again sparking those creative synapses already. You're looking at it and you're like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at any fantasy book, especially these days, like usually a map is like a given. And this map does not disappoint, as I've stated before. You then move on and you see that there is also a map of the Western Southlands, the area in which the Provokers campaign took place. The Provokers, if you don't know, just go to A Fistful of Dice and watch the Provokers campaign. It is an excellent, epic Dungeons and Dragons campaign, where you first see Stone Rift as well. So. And then you move down and you get this wicked map as well of the dwarven city of Stone Rift. Now, I did a reaction video when I first opened this supplement, and uh, the thing that I focused on the most, I think, was this map, because it instantly reminded me of books that I read as a child. Oh, and my cat has just joined me. If my cat is like jumping in and out of frame every now and then I do apologise. Um, she's young. Uh, so anyway, Stone Rift map. Um, so yeah, like I said, it's like a book that I read as a child. It's like those books where you have the image and it's sort of a cutaway, and you can actually see the inner depths of Stone Rift. Because obviously they're dwarves, they live underground. They're dwarves, obviously they live underground. And you can see all sorts of details. You can see where the lightning catchers are. You can see Bolt Tower. You can see the Sky Shaft. All sorts of different details to give you further ideas as to what this place is like. It is drumming into you the identity of this place before you've read a word, just through imagery, okay? Which I really like. It is showing you, not telling you what this thing is going to be. And then obviously you get the title pages where you've got your open gaming license, and then the table of contents, which, you know, I'm not going to go through the table of contents because we're just going to go through the sections. This is something I really liked. There's a foreword by Matt Click himself. And I thought this was a really great addition. I don't think many books are called out for their forewords exactly, but this one I think is great because it gives you an insight as to how a creator like Matt, how he is inspired, like what it takes. This is a very small description of his time spent with his wife on the edge of the Grand Canyon. So obviously you're going to be inspired by the Grand Canyon, but Matt has clearly taken inspiration from the world around us, which I think is excellent, and is probably some really good advice to take from him. It's just to look around you, look at the wonder of this world. And obviously that is real, okay? There is to have it sort of grounded with that kind of thinking, can't go wrong. So yeah, I really appreciated the foreword. So I'm just going to quickly move down now and let's see. So I'm hopefully not going to be going through the entire supplement page by page, but for now, let's move on to the next section. So this section is the world of Erenoth. This is quite an important section, I think, because this book can be taken in, I think, two different ways. One is that you play it and read it for the exact setting, the exact lore. If you want to run Erenoth for your players, you know, that's number one. Number two is that you can look into this book and you can just draw any kind of inspiration that you wish from it and utilize it in your own setting, which I think, you know, is what people have done basically ever since printed modules existed, and they have existed from the very beginning. So people have been doing it all the time. But that's the two ways that you can look at it. But if you want to run it as Erenoth, you want to just go straight into Stone Rift as it is in the official setting, then this particular section is very useful. You look at it and it says the world of Erenoth, and it gives a number of rules. Let's have a quick look. So it gives you 10 rules, essentially. I say rules, basically points to bear in mind whilst you're running it. One, that it's an ancient land. It was forged by conflicts of gods and dragons. It tells you about the state of magic within the world, the different kinds of cultures that you're likely to find, and the level of technology. All of these things are things to consider when you are wanting to run a game, and I think it's a really cool move for the kids at Tab to include at the beginning. You then got an introductory chapter stating or saying welcome to Stone Rift, and it gives there's like a really wicked dirge that they've written, because ever since reading The Hobbit, you know, we know dwarves like a bit of a dirge, don't we? Like, it's got a very somber kind of song about them. Deep is the song that bellows below, in stone and in steel we find our home. Bold is the lightning that flashes above, to the rift we go. The Dirge of the Rift. Really cool, and that's something you can just drop straight in. You know, you can read that, and your players are just going to be like, "Did you just sing a song? What? Jesus!" It's just good stuff. And it gives it basically geographical details, where it is, how it functions. Just again, really good stuff to know before you run this. Just how it is set in the world, where it's set in the world, and you know why it's there. It tells you about the Thunder Dwarves as well. How you know these dwarves are essentially very much like your typical fantasy dwarves. They're about 4 to 5 feet tall, how much they weigh. It talks about their beards and their culture. But it also states that these are obviously slightly different. They're dwarves that you know, but with a twist, because they are born and live beneath these thunderstorms, and are all taught about how to craft with lightning, that kind of thing. So it's just a nice little kind of twist on what we already know, which is what Matt Click is known for. I feel at this point he's known for giving something a different edge, as it were. Now, this is something that is pretty awesome about Stone Rift, and it's something that I've always liked since watching the Provokers, and that is that the Stone Rift is essentially ruled as a diarchy, like with ancient Sparta. There is a King of the March who deals with the army and stuff like that, and then there's the King of the Toil that deal with the working class and the functioning and the functioning of the city, that kind of thing. Really, really adored that idea from the get-go. And I think this particular element of Stone Rift can really inspire you as to how you would like your settings and your cities to operate. Doesn't always just have to be a king or an emperor or a lord. It can function with at a sophisticated level that you might not have thought of before. So it's very cool. It speaks, of course, of the shadows over Stone Rift. That 20 years ago there was a war that erupted in the Western Southlands where Stone Rift is set, and that is actually the campaign called the Provokers, which is very cool. Now, the thing that I really like about this is that there is I like my lore dumps, and I think it's really cool that whatever is mentioned within the lore of Stone Rift at some point will be basically used for either a story element, a point of inspiration, or something mechanically. It all feeds back into the material, which I really like. It gives it a really well-rounded, well-considered kind of aura. This is why I don't do reviews usually. It basically makes it feel well-rounded and well-considered, is what I'm trying to say. It all feeds back onto itself, which is great because there isn't too much of it. It's not oversaturated. Like, you could be there for days reading a history book. But speaking of history, we're going to move on to the next point. A brief history of Stone Rift. There is a excellent timeline. Now, this is something that's becoming a bit of a staple for Absolute Tabletop, which is their timelines. Which is really cool, and in itself is something that you can just draw on for inspiration. Each one of these points, you have the genesis of the dwarves, the Age of Stone, where basically the early dwarfs were around hunting trolls and stuff. And you go through, and there's different elements that have happened throughout the dwarves' histories that you can actually see the development of how these dwarves came to be the ones that now exist in Stone Rift. And I think that's pretty cool. It gives their existence a certain amount of weight. It shows why they are the way they are. Because it's very easy to say, "Oh, dwarves are grumpy. They hold a lot of grudges. Um, they're industrious people," and that's fine. We all know that. But to have its own unique reason for why they are the way they are, they're not just like that for the sake of it. They are they're very well-rounded characters, essentially, these dwarves, which I like. I really like. And you get up all the way to the point where Stone Rift is founded, and then once it's founded, the different conflicts of interest that have occurred throughout Stone Rift's own history, as well as these dwarves. Um, right up to the point where we discuss the Wandering King, which also feeds back into the Provokers game, which is pretty cool. You got a nice picture of a particular dwarf known as Durgan Blood Mountain clutching Storm's Reach. That's a pretty cool picture, and I'm really glad that there was that little nod for people who are fans of that series. Really cool. So now we go into the details of the different areas of this city, which I really like. You have the surface, because this isn't just about the city itself, it is about the outlying settlements as well, which I really like. It means that you can use this part of the supplement alone, and you already have a place where dwarves can reside. Elements to this, like Kulgar or Boltspire or Dolstead. I mean, I'm just reading them, but these are all things that you could just pluck from this supplement and just drop into your own game, and there you go. You've got a fully fledged, functioning dwarf settlement that you can utilize to your every whim, which is great. Am I still recording? Let's check. Because that would be really handy if we're still recording. I am. Oh, Jesus Christ. I looked, and there's usually a timer here, and it wasn't there because my another tab was covering it. Oh my God. Thank Christ. So we're going to move on. So yeah, we're talking about the sort of the surface right now, which is great. Good stuff. And it basically, this is the great thing about it, like it is giving you a whole bunch of scope to deal with, which I really like about this. I mean, you could pick up this supplement and go in any which direction in terms of just one element of this thing. Like, let's take Hatcher's Delve, for example. It was formerly a mine, and it's actually older than Stone Rift itself. I mean, even that, you have a mine that is older than the city that it is sort of where its miners come from, essentially. Like, there you go. Like, that's just a bit that you can use. You can just take Hatcher's Delve, you can just chuck it into your own world if you want. Or use the very rich texts, boxes of lore to obviously ensure that you are running it faithfully to the Erenoth standard. The Erenoth standard, I like that. It talks fortifications, how this place is actually, defended, and then it talks about adversaries, because no D&D game is complete without your adversaries, the conflict that will be caused. Now, these are, we're talking about monsters here, and we have obviously hill giants that are, really, really big foes of, well, obviously they're really big, but they are foes of dwarves and always have been. I really like that they have been mentioned in there. Burrow goblins, a creation of Matt Click, are goblins that essentially rush in through like caverns in the darkness, and they glow and then they explode, and they can set up a chain reaction, wiping dozens of people out in one go, which I think is a great idea for a monster. I know, I'm pretty sure I watched Matt speak about the Burrow Goblins and how he was influenced from Gears of War, that sort of stuff. And that's something that speaks to my generation, at least, that particular kind of enemy that you have to be really careful with, and that's nothing but a good thing for me, because I think that that particular monster, like in combat, a lot of the time it is hit something until it's dead, you know, and that's fine. But sometimes it is nice to have an element to that fight that adds another layer of tension. If you hit this thing, is it going to explode? You know, it's just something else that's going to rack up the tension. And once again, something you can pick up in your own world, sounding like a broken record, but it's true. Every single element of this thing you can just rip from the pages and thrust into your own DM notes. And this is something that they're great at doing. This is something I really like. Speaking of taking things from this and putting it into your own thing, we have the first section of our adventure hooks. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm not going to say what they are, really, because you should buy the supplement. But essentially, you have 20 adventure hooks using the material that you've just gone through. Once again, feeding back into the lore, feeding back into everything that we've been reading. Adventure hooks based on that. You know, you've just spent 5 minutes reading that, okay? If you're an average reading level, then 5 minutes, yeah? To then sort of know what you're talking about. You then read these, and it's like, okay, we're going to use this element. This is how the adventure is going to start. So I'm gonna look at one. I'll do one, okay? But you should really buy this and read it yourself. I'm sure they won't mind. Okay, let's do number 7. So Wrath of the Storm. Lightning strikes, cracking the ground, breaking into a massive cavern just outside of the rift. Rift Rangers report that the cavern leads deep beneath the surface into the subterranean superstructure known as the Burrow, where all manner of vile beasts thrive. You see? You see? Just did it. There you go. I can take that personally and just go, that's my adventure. You've got to go into the Burrow. Let's see what happens. Just great stuff. And then there's a little table at the end as well, which I say little, it's actually fairly sizable. 10 points saying the perils of the surface. It's a roll table. We all love a roll table. We like an element of chaos in our games. So you get your D10, you give it a roll, and then you see what other peril you have to add to your campaign that you've just created. So you have Wrath of the Storm, the lightning opening that thing into the burrow, and then you just roll on the D10 and see what happens. And there is another exciting element of adventure that you just drop right in there. So easy to use. User friendly. It's great stuff. And then we have elements like the Upper Sprawl, which is another part of the city. I'm not going to go through that as much as I did the surface, but exactly the same kind of thing. Just telling you more about the setting and then dropping you more adventure hooks for you to use. Really cool stuff. At this point, we stumble across a table known as Rill. I think I'm saying that right. Rill, a game of stones. This is great, I will just say. Let's talk about Rill. So it's not often that you get a book for a game and then you find a game in the game, is it? Well, here we do. Rill is awesome. It's a bluffing betting game using runestones. Now, this is something that could just be a throwaway line. Oh, you see some dwarves in the corner of the tavern playing Rill. Yeah, fine. But what if that becomes part of the plot? What if there is a high-stakes Rill game that one of your players has to win to either get funds to, I don't know, pay for the next adventure, or to make sure that a particular criminal dwarf doesn't get the funds to continue bribing people within the rift. I don't know. I just made that up off the top of my head, but that's the point. That is exactly the point. You can use this however you wish. And it's a great little game, I have to say. I mean, I had a bit of a read of the rules. Again, not going to go through it now, because you should really buy the supplement. But it's really cool. You could just sit there and play that game, you know, if you really wanted. Like, I remember I used to go to underneath a pub I used to go to. Beneath this pub is where I used to play role-playing games when I was quite young. I probably had no business being in a pub, but you know, this is sort of the games that we sort of played before doing the role-playing games, like your dice betting games and stuff. So really cool. They're really within the you know, our ballpark, as it were. I say our. I'm just including all of us into one big old group because we bloody love role-playing games, don't we? This is another thing I like. Famous kings of Stone Rift. Like, here's another bit of history just dropped in you there. There's bloody whole bunch of kings that we can talk about, and you can pick one of those kings. Yes, you know what I'm going to say. And you chuck it into your own settlement. You chuck it into your own stuff, and it's there, fully fleshed out. You have a ruler with their own nuance. You have a ruler with their own ways of how they like to rule, you know? Just take it there. Boom. Doesn't even have to be dwarves. Probably should be dwarves, but it doesn't have to be, you know? And again, with the Upper Sprawl, you have your D10 roll table, and you have, once again, 20 adventure hooks to just, you know, get your game going. You have the lower depths as well. You have, which I love, you have a roll table for when you use the lift. Once again, as a fan of the Provoker series, I love the fact that that lift is still a problem. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but for those who know, most of you watching this probably know that lift is problematic. Okay, you want to stay away from the lift. And there's a D6 bloody roll table to see if you actually make it down or not. I love it, love it. You also have a really cool thing called the Blackstone Bazaar around here. Really cool that they've taken the time to see what kind of stuff you can get from this market as well. And not only that, but a market, often within settings, is a great place to showcase how diverse a culture you have going on here. And Stone Rift is definitely a really good example of that. Once again, you've got a bloody roll table with a D20 this time where you can roll to see what kind of strange ornaments and artifacts you can recover from the Blackstone Bazaar. Really cool stuff. We then have a little discussion about the lightning repository. I say discussion. We have the lightning repositories, and that is detailed here. And it gives you just all sorts of information about that. I absolutely love it. That we are having a detailed description of this industry and what makes this place feasible, why it exists. You know, that is how that they maintain a living. It's how they exist, and I love it. I absolutely love that. You've also got a little sport in there. You want to run a game where it's all around a team of bolt throwers. These guys that essentially, they do this for sport. It's insane. They basically are throwing bolts of lightning, if I'm not mistaken. Why don't you do an Erenoth Stone Rift game, which is sort of formatted like an 80s American football movie? Like, that's what I would do with bolt throwing, and it would end with them all cheering and jumping into the air and there being like a freeze frame. And when he's doing that, he's catching the lightning. That's what I would do if I had to run a bolt throwing game. Just saying. We have these things called sentinel gates next, which again I love. Oh my god, my cat has just destroyed half of my table. Please bear with me whilst I stop the cat. So I stopped my cat from destroying things and found she is in an envelope. Enough! So after that brief distraction, we're back into the review and we're talking about the amazing, the wonderful, the creative Sentinel Gates. Sentinel Gates are really cool. Essentially, these are sentient gates with faces set upon them. They remind me kind of the old school Fable games. Like, I said the old school, cheese. Old school. They're not old school. Well, I guess they are a bit now. But nonetheless, these are Sentinel Gates. They have faces set within them. And they are essentially a challenge. And once again, as I've said countless times before, you take these out, you throw them in your setting. Now these have four different elements that you have to achieve before you can actually open these gates, and you can roll them on a handy D6 table for difficulty and a D10 table for what you're actually going to have to achieve to open this door. So number one on the table is espionage. You have to see whether you have to complete a lock or evade a trap. Then there's physical, where you have to actually do a feat of strength, maybe hold the gate up perhaps. Intellect, basically try and outsmart the gate in some way, or recognize different clues that the gate gives you. And social, things like talking to the gate, giving the gate a joke, deceiving the gate in some way. All of these are things that your party that you are running for your game, they all get to do something to overcome this challenge. And I really like the idea of that. Them all working together to overcome this. What I thought would be a really cool thing. You could do anything with this, but imagine if there was a story about a dwarf that managed to do all four at the same time. Now, obviously, this is actually encouraging teamwork, like a lot of good non-combat encounters should in D&D. But that was just the thought I had just there, like, oh, wouldn't that be really awesome if there was some kind of legend where there was only one person that ever got through a Sentinel Gate by themselves. So yeah. And then we talk about the burrow as well, and the burrow is the, as we mentioned before from that adventure hook, essentially the depths beneath Stone Rift, filled with terrifying monsters. One monster that I didn't mention earlier was actually the lightning weird. I haven't reached it yet, but oh my god, that's really cool. Not going to say anything about the lightning weird. But yeah, so we have all the unimaginable dangers of the depths, the burrow, and it's pretty great. Like, and once again, you've got your adventure hooks about the depths, about the risks involved going down there, why you might end up going down there, whether it be a missing relic or other things that I'm not going to tell you about because you should buy the supplement. And we then move on to the next section. Life in the Rift. This is really cool as well because this is just further details about the existence of this place, and obviously how it is run, how the hierarchy functions, the different, just really cool lore elements that once again you can use anywhere, but make up this amazing tapestry that is Stone Rift itself. I feel almost it would be a shame. That's the only thing I will say about this supplement. It would be a shame. I mean, it's great that, like I've been saying all this time, you can take any element of this and put it as your own supplement, but it is a shame that you wouldn't be using it for Erenoth because, my goodness, it's all just so wonderfully linked together. I can't imagine how difficult it must have been to have done that. So fair play. Well done, guys, for sticking to your guns and sticking to your idea. Like, I love it. This is something cool that I really like looking through. The weapons. So we've got and the classes as well, and the sort of the factions, as you were. So you have like the Thunder Guards, like heavily armored people that are actually Stone Rift military. You have Rift Rangers, which are the rangers that go about further beyond the borders of Stone Rift to basically defend the city from afar, and through espionage and cunning, which I really like. There are bolt throwers, and it gives you a detailed list of all the different families: Blackhand, Bolt Thrower, Brightbolt, Broadshield, Blood Mountain. It's just really great, and it tells you which side of the hierarchy that these particular families fall on. So Blood Mountain is from the Labour area, which I find interesting. I find that really interesting. Whereas if you're on the other side, maybe a bolt thrower, you actually have noble birth. So it is showing that despite the fact that this is a, you know, a well-developed kingdom of dwarves, there is a rift. I think it's always been clever, ever since watching the Provokers, that Stone Rift itself is a metaphor for the situation the dwarves are in with their hierarchy. There's a rift between two classes. It's very smart. I see what you did there, and I like it. So I'm being stupid now. I shouldn't do reviews. I should just stick to my own stupid stuff. No, moving on. So we have trinkets. Trinkets. And I think if you want to see some of these trinkets be rolled, you should go and check out, once again, the Fistful of Dice's YouTube channel, and you can see him actually roll some of these on his Telltale Trinket series for the dwarves. But once again, a really cool roll table. You don't know what's going to come out of it. In fact, bloody hell, I'm going to do it. I am going to bloody do it, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. So I'm going to roll a Labour clan trinket and a Noble clan trinket. I'm going to see what I get, if I can get my dice out. Okay. Labour, Noble. Here we go for Labour first. 1. Cool. A small monogrammed mason's hammer. Cool. You better not be copying that down. You should buy the supplement. D20. Noble clan trinkets. Here we go. I'm going to re-roll because that was a 1 as well. 17. That's better. Let's have a look. A candle with a blue flame. Its wick sparks and pops. There you go. What could that mean? What could the flame be really doing? Does the flame come alight when a certain enemy draws close? Does your small monogrammed mason's hammer smash away large rocks? It could be anything. That was just off the top of my head. Not a very good suggestion. Next, we have Denizens of the Rift, which is really cool. I do love just having stat blocks of different things. It is really cool. You have a battle ram, which are the steeds that the dwarves can use in battle and to patrol on. You have enemies such as the Blackstone Golem, terrifying automatons that are used to help with the lightning repositories, but also can be fearless, enemy to come across. We all love bloody golems, don't we? Let's face it, because they're frightening. Burrow Goblins, once again, the Torchling, and a bit more details about a feral hive where they reside. More about we've got the Burrow Goblin Brightburner. Even if you just want to buy this to get new monsters, like with a certain angle about them, get this. They're all balanced. They all work really well. Like, I've seen them used. Good stuff. And I can see that they have been thought over tirelessly. I can tell that just from the way that they're all written out, man. It's cool. Man. You might not be a man. Yeah, and there's more about the giants as well. There's the lightning weird. I'm not going to tell you about the lightning weird. You should bloody buy it. Buy the lightning weird separately. That's how good it is. You should just have that as a separate thing. That's a criticism. You should sell them like Pokemon cards. Like, you get like your startup deck. And you're like, did you get a lightning weird? No, I got a bloody Weedle again. God. No. Anyway, and then there's Green Creep as well. Now, this is something that didn't, I believe, actually enter into the mission at the end, but I believe that was just down to time constraints. This is something that's really cool. It's essentially a moss that, at least I think it's a moss. It is a moss, isn't it? It's kind of like a moss or a plant, and it's like acidic, and it's just like an environmental hazard, which I kind of like. Just something cool. That's one of the things like in Dark Souls and things like that you come across where, it isn't just the impossibly difficult monsters that are trying to kill you. The entire world is trying to kill you. So it's good that has been considered there for the for the below, in the burrows. Now we've got to the weapons. I said about weapons earlier, but I meant they're here. We've got things like the bolt weapons, which are harnessing lightning to essentially, cause damage to the enemies. Or you've got the hamstringer, a sword designed to take down giants by hamstringing them, essentially. Storm's Reach is in here, Durgan's legendary weapon, which is pretty bloody cool. It's essentially Thor's hammer. You can throw it. There's the Thunderbow, fires lightning and stuff. Oh, does it fire lightning, or is it? Yes, it does do lightning. Of course, it does. It's one of those old Thunderbows. And then finally, we're on to the adventure into the Rift. Now, if you want to see this actually played out, you should go and check out Jacob Norman's channel, Beneath Terrain Domain, on YouTube. He did a really cool sort of delve into this adventure. With some great players, and it was an awful lot of fun. It was a good fun to watch, and it's really cool. I mean, the thing that sticks out with this one is, and I believe this is thanks to Tim and Barker, Tim Carney and Michael Barker of Absolute Tabletop, were the minds behind this adventure, utilizing everything that Matt Click had come up with, and basically putting it into this adventure, which showcases basically all of these elements in one flowing, lovely adventure. And the great thing is that all the information pieces that you usually tell your players, in those grey boxes, like in basically any release supplement ever, there's a grey box that says "Read to the players." You have it, and it's in verse, like an old dwarven dirge. We go back to the dirge again. Come gather ye round, I have here a story with action adventure. You won't be left snoring. There was darkness and danger. There were heroes, strong and swift. On the day the explosions sounded in the deep of Stone Rift. It's pretty cool, and if you're going to throw that at your players, I think they'll be instantly impressed. To have your, your actions be heralded along with song and verse and all this lore that comes with it. And just with that alone, that'll just make you feel like you're part of a legend, part of an adventure that will not be lost to the harrowing fog of time. What am I even talking about? And the adventure is pretty cool. From what I saw, I mean, I'm not going to go through this by the supplement. Not going to go through it, but it is really well balanced. It seems to me I think from the one that I saw, it seemed to be balanced fairly well. I mean, that's the thing. It's really difficult to tell, isn't it? Without a whole bunch of people playing it, because sometimes the dice fall the way they fall. But it seemed to me from the one that I watched and from reading this adventure, that you've got a really stable campaign here. Adventure. That can be one session, that can be a whole bunch of different sessions, because there's a lot of material that wasn't used in the one that I watched. And it's all, again, stuff that you can use later on or elsewhere, or just play it as it is and go through every single element of it. Now, I believe it says at the beginning what, I think it's like level 4 upwards. I think I've gone past the, oh no, and now I've gone past the adventure entirely. Never mind. But yeah, so that's the adventure. And that's essentially Stone Rift, the supplement. It gives you like a little what's next thing at the end of the adventure, which is what I really love. Like they used to do that in a whole bunch of supplements that I used to read, where they say, well, that was your adventure there. Now what's going to happen now? It isn't a coincidence that these events happened. Go and look out for this. One of the enemies maybe escaped. Go and hunt him down. Like, it all just leads on to the next adventure. So I'm gonna summarize. Oh, and then of course you have the Unearth the Secrets of Erenoth at the end, which is really cool. You can see the convocation there, Brooke and the Wayward Wanderer, and yeah, and then that's the end of the supplement. So yeah, final thoughts. First of all, Stone Rift is the best thing that Absolute Tabletop have done, I think. It is, and that's not to take away from their previous work. I do have a somewhat biased opinion because I like their settings, and I am a big fan of the games they run. But that does not affect the fact that this has basically shown us the future of Absolute Tabletop. It has shown that they have listened to feedback that they have received in the past, and they have stuck to their guns on their wish and desire to be able to provide you with settings and supplements with a whole bunch of lore. But at the end of the day, it isn't just about their lore. It isn't like a vanity project. That's what I love about it so much. You could so easily make this a vanity project where, oh, this is just my setting. I'm just going to tell you everything you need to know about it. Off you go. No, 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 no. This thing is so easily able to be used in anything that you want to run. It is easy on the eye. It is set out well, and essentially, it comes with this almost like it's pushing you to basically take elements from this book. Come on, use this stuff, which I adore. It's really quite something. It's really special, this one, and I wouldn't hesitate to use stuff from this. And my cat is now playing with a wind chime, which is not good for my sound. Forgive the choppy nature of me trying to prevent my cat from destroying my house as I record this. So as I was saying, this could have easily been a vanity project. This could have been something where you just get a whole bunch of lore and you're just expected to, memorize it all and then get going with a game. But that isn't the case at all. All the lore that you get in this book basically informs everything that is completely 100% user friendly. All the roll tables, all the monsters, all of the NPC ideas, all of the adventure hooks. It's all part of one thing. It all feeds back into itself, which I really appreciate, both as wanting to if I would use it as a GM, and also just simply as a reader. There have been a lot of supplements that I picked up in the past where I just read them, just to absorb the feeling of it and to also inspire me. And this is the number one thing I will say about Stone Rift, which is you cannot pick up Stone Rift and not be inspired by the attention to detail, and how well written it is as well. Like, it is really, really well put together. Like I say, and like I keep saying, it keeps referring back on itself, and it's good that everything in it is informed by its own lore and internal logic. It stands out to me as a notable shift in the kind of quality that we are now going to be expecting for Absolute Tabletop. I mean, it is really something, and I obviously I like the Absolute Tabletop bunch. I really like their stuff. But even if I had never come into contact with them and I was given this, I would be very happy indeed. And I would essentially know that anytime I wanted, I could grab this book and I could run something within 15 minutes. It's spot on. You can take it in two ways, like I said. You can take it as the Erenoth standard, as I'm going to call it now, the basically playing it true to the supplement, or if you wanted to pick it up and use it within 15 minutes, you can just go use the adventure. All of the information is there for you. Really impressed by this, and they obviously work very hard on this. I know they work very hard on this, and it really shows. And I will urge anyone who's got this far through the review to go ahead and get it at absolutetabletop.com. So I hope this has been useful. I hadn't planned to record this review the way I have. I did promise a review, so a review this is, and I'm afraid it was a bit more candid and a bit more off the cuff than what I had hoped to do. But you know, in the meantime, we shall, yeah, hopefully this will do. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching. I hope if you like this video, then you'll go a like. If you'd like to see more like it, then give me a subscribe. If you've got Stone Rift, why don't you put in the comments what you think about it? And if you haven't, go and check it out because it is worth every penny over at absolutetabletop.com. Thank you very much. My name is Rob, watching Performance Check, and I hope that all of your performances and supplements are up to standard. The Erenoth standard.